Good afternoon, everybody. This is the June meeting of the San Luis Obispo County Flood Control and Water Conservation District Water Resources Advisory Committee meeting. We'll start with introductions. I'm Tom Burhan, District 4. Let's start over here.
Thank you. Patricia Thompson is my country alliance and at-large alternate.
Jim Grady, Chamber CSD.
McTeague, County Public Works.
Mary Beth,
Matt Watkins, District 3 alternate. Ray Shady, Shannon San Juan Water District.
Melissa Papa, County Public Works. Marsh Guthrie, City of Newport Beach.
Yeah, you.
Ed EB, the Polo CSD.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can see Jim.
Jen works in the City of San Francisco. This being the Holland, environmental at large.
David Chipping, Environmental Garage.
Eric Green, Environmental at Large. My gosh, we're a troika.
David Crater, District 4 alternate. Doug Grossart, Heritage Ranch CSD alternate.
Matt Cook, Golden State Water, Los Osos. Lee Nesbitt, EPC.
Okay, Joey.
All right, Joe Sile, County Public Works. Brendan Clark, County Public Works Committee Secretary.
And who do we have online, Joey?
Yeah, so for the folks online, I will announce your name and please feel free to introduce yourself, starting with Jenny Williamson.
Jenny Williamson, San Luis Obispo, California, Public Works, Water Resources.
Tim Kershaw,
Tim Kershaw, Cleve Harris, geologist.
Pamela Walters, excuse me. Moving on, Kristen-
Sorry about that. This is actually Tim Walters. I'm on my wife's computer, so sorry about that. Tim Walters, Development at Large.
Tristan Reaper,
Tristan Reaper, Cambria Community Services District alternate.
Angela Ford.
She said her mic was working.
Okay, Angela Ford's present. Seth Peak,
Seth Peak, Atascadero City Council.
Eileen Villa,
Jolene Villa, OCSD, Oceana Community Service District.
Jeff Hedlund. You able to unmute Jeff? Maybe having some technical difficulties there, but is there anyone else we missed online who would like to introduce themselves?
Good afternoon. This is Jeff Edwards from Los Osos. Greetings.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. I think that's everyone online.
All right. And Dominic, you came in.
Yeah, San Luis, Coastal San Luis Resource Conservation.
Thank you. And Courtney.
Green Howard, Deputy Director, Public Works.
Anybody we missed in the room? All right. Very good. Then we'll move on to approval of the May 6th WRAC meeting minutes. Christine.
Yes. I thought perhaps this was not a typo, but meant for a little levity. But on number 3's presentation of the DSAL on Evie asked about brine dilution. Diluted there maybe? No, dilution.
Okay.
I wasn't commenting on the veracity.
Yes, thank you.
Eric and then Mary.
I only have one word to change in these basically very accurate minutes, and that is, again, on the desal report, on the third, fifth page, right under EEV, but not under the delusion, middle of the page, I asked whether desalinated water would receive centralized treatment. That's accurate, but the reason I was asking, and I did clarify that because I was asking for a definition of treatment, is centralized fluorination. Obviously, you're treating salt water to turn it into fresh water, but would they also fluorinating and it's a domestic supply. That was my question. So just changing the word treatment to chlorination makes the concern clear.
Thank you, Eric. Mary?
Yeah, I have the same thing under number 3, where I discussed apparently about the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. I'd like for you to put, really, I was focused on the South County State Parks in my commentary. The Chumash Heritage thing came up via Christine, who did a really great job of talking about it. So I was concerned about the whether or not the state parks and the brine that was talking about that pipeline that goes out, whether or not the state parks would be involved in that legality. Am I making any sense? With the
Yes,
South
yes.
County State Parks? Just a little flip of the word.
All right, any other comments on the minutes? I will note that the minutes right now, as you see them, don't include a copy of the desal presentation, but we intend to include one for the record so that people can look at that and know what we saw that day.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'll be posted on the meeting.
Okay, seeing no other hands, I'll entertain a motion then for approval.
I'll move as amended.
Move as amended. Christine, second. Mary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye, without any delusions.
Very good, Eric. Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right. Now we'll move on to item 3, review and discuss proposed San Luis Obispo County Flood Control and Water Conservation District budget. And Nick is going to do the presentation.
Good afternoon. I'm Nick Teague. I'm the Water Resources Division Manager for County Slow Public Works. I'm going to be discussing the proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget for the Flood Control and Water Conservation District Zone General Budget. My team within the Water Resources Division does work funded by the Zone General Budget. It's a countywide allocation. We're focused primarily on water supply planning and flood control planning. My team also does work in the zones of benefit, Zone 11A and Zone 9. However, we're going to be focusing here on the Zone General benefit with some discussion about how the Zone General Fund assists some of the work done in Zone 11A. And as we do every year, we come here to WRAC to present the budget and get your feedback from. Included in the agenda packet is the budget management policy. And that policy kind of lays out how we prioritize work, what we are focused on. Obviously, my team is very passionate about the work that we do. We would love to do everything within the county to help solve all of the issues. But we kind of focus here on some of these issues. So really understanding conditions, what are the existing needs? How can we support resiliency throughout the county? And then how do we support programs or projects to improve resiliency through into the future? The budget management policy calls for funding in the following priorities. So really, we are focused on existing programs and services. Finally, or because we all are also the parent fund for the other zones of benefits, we have some financing needs for some of the other county provided services related to water resources. And then anything left over once we've fulfilled those needs can go to some of our priority projects and programs. right, so the Water Resources Division is broken into 5 different units. Starting from left going right, we have our programs unit, which is managed by Joey here. Among other things, one of Joey's team's kind of primary services for the division is grant management. It's a huge part of making sure that we're able to do all of the work that we need to do throughout the county. You'll see later on, grants really supplement a lot of the work that we do. Right now, Joey's team is managing 8 grants with 24 active projects consisting of 20 actual agreements. And the total grant funding right now, we have about $18.6 million in grant funding helping provide water services throughout the county. Brendan manages our regional unit. Brendan's team right now is focused on the master water report and the DIMS data information management system that we will hopefully be bringing here later in the year, early next year. A lot of interesting things coming out of that work. Brendan's team also manages the IRWM program, so managing the grants from the state that help fund projects throughout the county. And then also Zone 9, which is the Slow Creek corridor here in the city of San Luis Obispo. They help implement the waterway management plan for Zone 9. Our sub-regional unit is managed by Angela Ford. She's on the line. She right now is focused on several large projects, desal being one of them. You guys heard about that last meeting. Salinas Dam feasibility study, which hopefully we'll be bringing here to WRAC after our summer break. And then the Adelaide groundwater study in coordination with USGS. We're kind of getting towards the end of that one, so we'll also be bringing that one forward to WRAC to provide an update here soon. Our technical unit is managed by Kathy Martin. They manage all of the rain and stream gauges throughout the county. It's a huge work effort. They also assist with measuring groundwater levels. We assist with some of the managed basins for Sigma, but we also do a lot of the groundwater levels and unmanaged basins also. And then Zone 11A, we have Melissa Pasa, who's new to the team. She is making some huge improvements in managing that zone of benefit. As you can see here, she's got a water resources tech. We on the screen have a vacancy, but we have selected someone to fill that position, which will be starting July 1st. So be good to get that team completely filled out and on track to getting things ready for what could be an exciting storm season next winter. Looking at the zone general expected revenue for next year. This is kind of our starting point. This is the money that allows us to do the basic services that we need to provide. And we're anticipated to bring in about $4.2 million, 80% of that to cover labor and 20% to cover operations. So getting into the priority efforts that we spoke about earlier. Our priority efforts are driven by what we've committed to and what the board directs us to do. We also have a requirement to make sure that we're complying with grant eligibility and that other entities that may benefit from grant funding remain eligible as well. IRWM is a good example of that. And then we have organizational needs, so other zones of benefit that need help and where we can provide temporary support. So some of our ongoing regional services and commitments, I spoke about our technical unit. Countywide, we collect data from over 50 rain and stream gauges. We have over 150 volunteer groundwater levels. And we also received grants to install 2 new stream gauges, one on Tar Spring Creek and one on Slow Creek down near Avila. Some of the initiatives that we're working towards are developing a program for understanding flow at key sites. So this requires flow measuring at various flow intervals, low to high flows, and developing rating curves so that we can use our stage data to understand actual flow volumes through various regions. Yes.
Who wants to wait to the end for questions?
If you have questions now, I'll take them.
Well, thank you. I know I'm all that savvy about budget stuff, but previously you had the labor and the labor and operations. Okay, thank you. So I understand labor is everybody who's named and all the people who work there, but what is the operations portion and the cost? Is that for the cost of these cinema stations and maintaining them, or for equipment? What
No,
is that?
You're right on it. It's the equipment and the software of the tools essentially that we need to use to maintain this and to do some of the other work that we're doing.
All these things that the people use, the labor uses to collect and analyze data, et cetera. Oh, thank you.
Yes,
I have a question too. Where in Slow Creek will the new stream gauge be located?
Brendan, do you have a?
On the San Luis Bay Drive Bridge where it meets Avila Beach Drive there at the bottom of the watershed.
Oh, all the way down there. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Not at the city itself.
No, yeah, this one will be down at the end of the watershed, operated by USGS.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Brendan.
I touched on some of these earlier, some other regional services and commitments, focus on the regional water supply efforts. We are wrapping up development of the master water report and the data and information management system. Brendan's team is managing the grants for the IRWM program. And we're working on Salinas Dam local ownership feasibility planning and wrapping up that desal project. We are also with the Prop 4 funding. I'm sure you all are familiar with proposition that came out, I guess it was 2 years ago. Funding is still kind of being disseminated. We are tracking that, trying to find opportunities where the work that we want to do may fit into some of these opportunities to get additional grant funding through that opportunity. Focusing on flood planning efforts. I believe last year the takeaway was that we had applied for BRIC funding. It had been taken away through kind of the, I don't want to say dissolution of FEMA, but the halting of FEMA doing any work. We were recently contacted by Cal OES to continue the process of trying to secure funding through the BRIC program. We're still waiting on FEMA. However, Cal OES sounds hopeful that once FEMA gets its feet back underneath it, this will be a program that they're still pursuing. So with that funding, our goal would be to do a countywide stormwater resources flood plan and drainage studies, help identifying areas throughout the county that are prone to flooding and opportunities to mitigate those risks. Again, we're also monitoring grant opportunities under Prop 4 for some of our flood planning efforts. As far as coordination and administrative activities, you know, these are things that we're doing throughout the year. We're planning our budget for the next fiscal year. Brendan's sitting here for WRAC, and we're presenting when we have relevant items. We help facilitate interagency discussions, respond to public requests, and contribute to some of the conservation programs throughout the county. Speaking to some of the organizational needs, we are still assisting Zone 118 with some of their cash flow needs to ensure that we can do what we are required to do as far as managing that levee system down in Arroyo Grande Creek. And then pass-through accounting, the state-funded IRWM grants pass through the county. We administer those grants and help some of the local agencies develop those projects and ensure that they are meeting some of the grant requirements. We also have a LPDM grant. This is funding a flood study down in Arroyo Grande Creek, which is going to be evaluating the technical, operational, and financial feasibility of implementing nature-based solutions that increase flood protection in Zone 1. So that's a grant that's passing through Zone General, being used in Zone. Yes.
1A is that the Oceano section where it floods and creek.
It's essentially the area that is protected by the levee system.
Okay, spur lane or somewhere, that whole area. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And then our other sub-regional programs or projects right now just consist of the Adelaida study. Again, we had a recent update from USGS to look at where they're at with that study. They're getting close. Their hope is to have a report out early next year. And so we'll be coming to WRAC, bringing them along to present some of those results. So looking forward to next fiscal year's budget and our 5-year plan. Those are included in your agenda packet. There's no real changes from last year as far as, you know, large programs or projects that we're adding. We are, like I said, wrapping up a lot of those this year. And then, you know, focusing on, you know, we've got a pretty new team. I'm new myself. Melissa's new. And so we're really focused on wrapping those up, doing the work that we need to do to assist the county in meeting its water resiliency needs. And yeah, that's what we're focused on this year. Some notes about the budget. We are still anticipating reimbursements from FEMA and Cali OES for some of the storm damage work that was done on the Arroyo Grande Creek levee. We have received some reimbursements, but the large one. The budget assumes a pretty conservative approach. We, you know, assume that we're fully staffed when we develop this budget, and as you saw earlier, we're not there. We also assume that everyone's at their maximum pay step. We also assume there's a 5% increase every year in expenses with only a 3% revenue. So we can have a very conservative. Yes.
And with some of the ongoing confusion at the national level with FEMA, how certain are you that the money will be coming back to California and to us specifically?
That's a good question. Courtney, do you have any insight on that?
Well, I guess I would just say, until we see it, we're gonna be conservative. Assume it's not coming. So we're not committing to anything substantial in the next 5 years until we see that reimbursement.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think also I failed to mention here, you know, we are financially supporting some of the work done in Zone 11A. We do have a contractor selected to do a Prop 218 study for Zone 11A to understand how we get into a financial situation where zone general is no longer supporting zone 1A. So I think, you know, that's gonna help the zone general budget, it's gonna help zone 1A. If we also got the $5 million back, that's gonna provide some money to do additional. But I think right now, the way we're budgeting this is, assuming this doesn't come, how do we also still do all that we need to do?
On the budget? Yeah, several documents, where are those at?
What's that?
You talked about several documents having to provide.
Yeah, did those get included in the agenda?
Well, I can see like.
The tables weren't included in the agenda packet.
Okay. Okay, those, yeah. The tables should have been included in the agenda packet. Apologize for that. We can look at those here in a second.
You have a slide that shows them?
We will look at them after I go through this slide at the end. We'll pull them up here on the screen.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep. So obviously we're being very conservative with the budget, but we also have a resiliency reserve. This is mandated through the budget policy that we have a $3.1 million emergency reserve. Anything beyond that can be used towards special studies or programs or cash flow loans to other county efforts. And so when we're looking at some of the special studies, we're looking at groundwater drainage and groundwater area studies, potential supply enhancement, flood management project alternative studies. And then, like I talked about before, we're doing cash flow loans to zone 1A, and looking at a Prop 218 study in that area to get them into a financial position where we're no longer doing.
And one question on resiliency. The weather people are saying that the old concept of the 100-year floodplain is vastly outdated in view of the projected high rainfall intensities. So when you're planning out all this stuff, are you using the old hydrology or a modeled 25-year future hydrology?
Yeah, no, I think that's something that's taken into consideration when we're looking at a flood study per se, right? So that is going to be updating the information that we have and our understanding of floodplains and, you know, areas that are prone to flooding. So I would say understanding that there is some information in the old studies that are relevant, but definitely need to be updated with an understanding of changing climate. And then Brendan, can you pull up that table?
Mm-hmm. Just one question on the regional partnerships on that last slide. Could you give some examples of what those might look like?
Yeah, so we attend and present at the this is going to be hard to see. Can we? Okay.
Have to scroll a little bit.
So
tell how many columns are in each number.
Eric, one of the examples of regional partnership is the countywide water action team. And so that kind of convenes a lot of the managers of regional water agencies. And that's where we would discuss something like with the desal project ending, looking at those alternatives and where do these local agencies want to go with that in the future.
Are these conversations held informally, or are they like Brown Act, some kind of like a secondary joint powers type thing, or what?
That one in particular is informal. So here we have the fiscal year 24-25 actual budgets, 25-26, which we are wrapping up now. That's marked as estimated year end. Obviously, we can't predict what's going to happen through the end of this month, but this is kind of our best guess at the moment. And then proposed 26-27 through 29-30 budgets. You'll see at the proposed 26-27 TBD for beginning balance. That's because we're not sure what our carryover funding is going to be from this current fiscal year. And then the property taxes and other revenue, that's that 4.2 million that we were looking at on the pie chart. Yes.
You have a lot of projects that are funded by grants and loans and whatnot. Do any of those help support the county staff, or is it just the consulting, contracted work? Because I know a lot of organizations use some of the grant money to fund their own organizations. It doesn't appear to be what you're doing.
No, and Courtney, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe it does.
Yeah, their grants usually have a cost match, like a local cost match, and so for ease of accounting, a lot of times we just use the consultants, but it's kind of all accounted for together, our staff costs and consultant costs. But there is usually like typically it tends to be 25%. So it helps more with consultants.
So the pie chart that had operations and labor, the labor is general fund supported them. There's no grant funding from IRWM or any other sources.
Yeah, it depends on how much labor we're expending in coupled with the consultant. So, I mean, I guess I could see a case where the grant funding is also supporting some of the staff time. But generally that pie chart is just to make sure we don't hire too many staff that, would exceed the 4.2 million. Yeah. That's just my check to make sure we don't hire too many people, because like Nick said at the beginning, we'd love to do it all, but we only figure out to make sure.
If you were to get the 5 million back from FEMA at all, does that show up here, or does it just go into the county general fund?
Yeah, it goes into its own general. So this is totally separate from the general fund of the county. So it would go into reserve balance. So they were talking earlier about the 3.1 million of reserves, setting that aside for emergencies. And then anything, any fund balance, or when the 5 million comes back, it'll go into that resiliency reserve that we can then use again for cost match or emergency loans, or beyond the 3.1 million. In that case, we had to use more than 3.1 million because it's pretty expensive to repair all those storms. But luckily, our reserves are healthy because we keep getting grants, which is helping us do work also. So.
Any other questions? Yes, Jim.
I'm just curious, in case there were a drought, how does drought preparation or conservation measures fit into your budget?
I wouldn't say it fits into our budget. So a lot of the work that we do is helping communities plan or having resiliency to meet needs even through drought. And so we don't necessarily directly respond to drought conditions. It wouldn't directly affect our budget. I think if anything, it would maybe change priorities or work that we're doing so that we focus on areas that are, being affected by drought, or that are showing maybe a greater risk to those drought effects than what we had anticipated.
So is anybody in the county doing public outreach in terms of encouraging conservation, water conservation?
Yeah, there are other divisions in the department that do that work.
Okay, thank you.
Is the Los Angeles to Morro Bay tie line being considered as any part of this project? For example, it's presumably it's going on county land. I don't know who's responsible for that, but is that any part of a county engineering and water issue for the department?
Not for my division. I would imagine other divisions within the department are more involved in that. For us, really the only place that would come up in our work is in the master water report and the DIM system that we're developing, where we look at resiliency and kind of risk scoring. Were they to tie in, hopefully that would improve their resiliency and their decrease their risk score. But as far as our involvement in helping facilitate that project, that's not.
I saw your, under resiliency, you got stormwater resource management / flood management or some terminology like that. I'm curious to what extent is the county taking seriously the idea of capturing stormwater and looking at it as a resource, not as a waste?
Yeah.
And enhancing the availability of stormwater.
Yeah, I think, you know, we are definitely taking a holistic view of water resources, and with the state kind of promoting those projects right now and facilitating them through cutting some of the red tape. We are looking at that. I think that's a big focus for some of the Prop 4 funding also. So we're having conversations with, you know, not just my division, but kind of collaboratively throughout the department on how do we develop projects that are eligible for that funding. I know, speaking with Blaine and Sigma Group, that's something that they're investigating for helping some of those managed basins. But right now, we aren't specifically looking at developing a project to capture stormwater.
So how does your division then achieve that goal if it's really other divisions?
So for the stormwater, for us, it's a lot of it is data, looking at some of those flood flows within our local waterways, making sure that we have data to understand where storm flows are occurring, where flood flows are occurring that potentially could be captured, diverted off stream. So we do a lot of work at looking at data gaps and trying to fill some of those data gaps.
Is there anyone in the county looking at infiltration potential? Is it just generally throughout the county? Or is that maybe that's part of the Sigma group?
I do believe they're looking at that through Sigma. I think that would also be a component of the flood study that we're hoping to do through the WRAC grant. Obviously, right, like infiltration affects flood risks. That would be
groundwater recharge projects have definitely been part of both ASO and that. Yeah. Wasn't there a study about 5 years ago on the propensity of different parts of the ASO basin to accept infiltration, and is that being built on? As
yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Nick. And I think many of our members will recall in past years, the WRAC has weighed in on whether or not we would recommend to the Board of Supervisors in the form of a letter to approve the proposed budget, understanding that the numbers are not finalized, you know, because we haven't had the end of the fiscal year yet. So, so I would be interested in entertaining a motion to allow us to send a letter supporting the proposed budget for 26-27 fiscal year. Christine,
So move.
all right, is there a second? David?
I will second. I can't say that I've seen all these numbers clearly. So there's a certain level of in concept. I think I trust the people who put it together to know what they're doing. I can't say that I have micro looked at the spreadsheets. And so basically, yes, I will
Okay.
second the motion and vote for it.
David, thank you, Eric. And just note, yeah, I think in past years you might have had the spreadsheet as part of the packet, the agenda package, but I'm not sure there was any more detail beyond that in past years than what you've seen today.
What's the content?
The letter was saying that the WRAC received the presentation today. I don't have a draft of it, but and that we recommend the board adopt it, the budget. Yes, Christine.
Is there some importance that we have this flood control and conservation resolution in our packet? It seems like the numbers would have been maybe better for us than this, but was there something that you wanted to draw our attention to in putting that whole board resolution in here?
I think it's just when we have turnover on the rack, we were trying to like provide the same thing every year. So new folks knew like why we build the budget the way we do.
All right, other comments? Yes.
Concerned.
Oh,
Explanation, that piece of it. It's a big, important part of this money piece. And so how does that get highlighted?
your concern is if the FEMA money was coming back, that the board wouldn't know that it would still go to the flood control budget? Is that?
I just like. This doesn't really show an explanation of that, it just shows the numbers. So I guess to me it was some wording, but then we discussed this carryover and then the hope to get the money back at some point. How do you account for that at the end of the day? And we'll remember this when it finally comes through.
The FEMA reimbursements would be inserted in one of the revenue lines. And so what you would see is down here at the bottom, above where we got the 3.1 million, that number would increase by 5.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's significant. That's, yes, 2.5 times your available funds or 20% of your existing budget. I mean, that increases your available opportunities.
True, but that's if and when the money shows up.
If and when. So
yeah,
we developed this budget assuming that's not going to come through, and we can still maintain our $3.1 million emergency reserves, and have a budget that balances out or at least provides us with additional reserves.
Okay.
Hold your question, Eric. I saw a hand in the back. Yes.
Copy of that email to us after today's meeting.
Absolutely.
Look at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Eric.
Yeah, very specifically in terms of that FEMA funding that should be available, would an eligible use of that funding, given that we're studying transfer to some local entity of the Salinas Dam, would an eligible use of that funding be to revisit the inundation maps for a dam failure at a higher level? Since the premises of the previous maps were faulty.
I'm not the expert on that,
I
Eric.
think our emergency services office is going through the dam response plans across the county.
So potentially, but not certainly, in other words, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I really don't think we have any way to right now direct $5 million.
Oh, I'm
yeah.
Place. And that's just.
I'm asking
how
about
we have a
eligibility.
balanced budget before us that we need to pay attention to, but that $5
This is
million.
not the programming question. This is the question of is that the sort of project that would be eligible for these fundings?
Well,
And I'm hearing that potentially could.
Potentially, Eric, when the money shows up, we can have further discussion.
You can advise the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right, we do have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
I think I'll roll call.
Oh, you want to do a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I got it.
please do the roll call then.
All right, District 3, Matt.
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
Ag at large, Patricia.
Yes.
John's not here, right?
Yes.
Ag at large, Marion.
Yes.
Environmental at large, Christine.
Yes.
And Eric.
Yes.
And Dave.
Yes.
Coastal San Luis RCD, Dominic.
Yes.
Golden State Water, Matt.
Yes.
And Shannon San Juan, right?
Yes.
And Estrella Pomar Creston, Lee.
Yes.
Thank you. City of AG, Elaine. Sheila. She wasn't. City of Pismo Beach. Marcia.
Yes.
Thank you. And City of SWO, Jim.
Yes.
Cambridge CSD, Jim.
Yes.
Heritage Ranch CSD.
Yes.
Napomo CSD, Ed.
Yes.
And did I miss anyone? Number. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I think that's it for item number 3. We'll go on to item number 4. And that's to discuss the committee's approach on the review of the desal draft study. We have a couple slides that were prepared just earlier today, so I don't actually have a hard copy to refer to. So I'm going to stand at the lectern, so I'm not constantly turning around to see the screen. But we, in essence, have, wait for Brandon to pull it up.
Yeah.
2 questions before the WRAC. The first is the desal team is anticipating in late July, it will have the draft desal report out for review. And they have asked us, the WRAC, to host us a special meeting in early August where they can come and present. It will be part of the public comment period that would end sometime in around, on or about August 7th. So the first question, of course, is how do we provide feedback to the draft desal team on the report? And then the second then is how do we provide any feedback to the Board of Supervisors when it gets ready to receive the file report on September 5th. So we'll go to the first question. Eric, yes.
Yeah, we're used to meeting on first Wednesdays, and so an early August meeting probably makes sense. My question is, how much time will we have had to review the final report before that date? Is it likely?
I've been told the tentative date is July 22nd for the issuance of the draft.
So that's a decent interval. It's
Right.
not an interval that we could spin off the subcommittee, but it's a decent interval that we could review it as individuals and take action as a body.
Right. And then the first Wednesday in August, I believe is the 5th. And so we would have a meeting then. So you'd have about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, which seems to be enough, given the fact that we have a pretty hard deadline of getting the draft report to the board. Supervisors is the first Wednesday in September, or first Tuesday, excuse me, September. So, at the last meeting, we discussed a little bit conceptually whether or not we needed a subcommittee to review the report. I sensed at the time that there wasn't a lot of appetite for that because the Board of Supervisors is going to, receive and file this. They're not taking any action other than that. So our thought was, subject to everybody's agreement, is that we would have the meeting on August 5th We would encourage all the RAC members to, especially if you have detailed comments or editorial editing comments, provide those in written form directly to the DSAL team. If you have things that need to be discussed in a concise manner, you could bring those to our special meeting tentatively on August 5th. At which point you could address the DSAL team itself and provide those comments. That would give them enough time to incorporate any comments they receive that day and still get the report to the Board of Supervisors in early September. Christine.
Thank you. I kind of a question here. It does seem that the Board of Supervisors put in motion a direction that this county go to DSAL. That's not up for question, it seems to me at this point. It's how we get there. But from the report that we took last month, it seems that there are various coastal cities and regions that are being studied, and that is where we're looking at DSAL. So I hope that the people who represent those different coastal cities and areas are the ones who take the lead in really studying this, because if you live in the Carrizo Plain or if you live in the city of San Luis Obispo, we're not really big players out in Preston. They're not going to be really big players on this. The Paso area. Now there was some talk of Wheeling Water eventually, maybe, but I really hope and suggest that from what I understand, we're not here to talk about desal or no desal. Therefore, we should really encourage those who are in the areas that are specifically being looked at and studied, that they take the lead on this, whether it's a subcommittee or just an independent group of people talking with each other.
Nick or Courtney, did you want to comment on that? Sort of the next steps after the draft board is received?
Yeah, I think that's consistent with where staff's at in terms of, okay, here's this menu of options. Until communities you say, let's go after this one and want to pitch in for the cost of that next step to make it happen, then that's when we would respond again under that regional resiliency cost match kind of partnership. We'll come along with you and try to help facilitate it like we like to do.
Eric and then Mary.
As the project, obviously, we're looking years ahead with this question, but just what we're shaping toward. Assuming a project gets a location and participants, would its final implementation require a Prop 218 vote? And if so, by whom? Because part of what we're doing is basically examining whether there are projects worthy of putting before that process, if that's the process.
Good question, Eric. And I think as the projects get closer to reality, that would have to be addressed. Mary.
I wanted to know, because I'm not sure if you know, what other committees are involved in this desal plan? Because it's a bigger environmental regional issue, especially down in Napoma where this refinery is. I've lived near this refinery for 40 years and my brain is just kind of going, okay, so who else is involved?
Coastal Commission, State Lands Commission, who else?
So where's the board? The board is just looking at our little picture, or is this a bigger board project? I just wanted to see where we fit in the big scheme of it. Is this us just sending over this budget, but there's also this desal piece of it that you want us to get involved in? I just wanted to know who else is playing in this game.
Yeah, right now we took, like for this phase, we took more of a regional approach. So the WRAC as a good forum for getting kind of the vibe, so to speak, and input. And then if we have these 5 options and agencies want to move forward on any one of those, then a whole new stakeholder engagement plan would be created around that next level of effort.
Okay, got that. That's what I was thinking.
Ed, Ed, yes.
I'm a little confused about the process here.
after we get this report, review it, and have 30 different opinions go in to comment on it.
Right.
What then goes to the board of supervisors with respect to what the RAC says?
It's a good question. And we've laid out a few options. One, the last bullet there. I think probably the best thing might be a letter from the chair on behalf of the RAC members, and we would vote on this at the special meeting, saying that we have, received numerous presentations over the last 18 months. I think it was 4, maybe it'd be 5, I think, with the special meeting from the DSAL team on their progress and their study. And we believe that the board, it is, that based upon the draft report, that the board of supervisors should receive and file that report.
But are the comments of us individuals going to be included in that letter?
Well, that's a good question. And that's why I'm encouraging people to send their comments directly to the DSAL team if you want them to make changes in the report. But we could just, I think we're gonna have to discuss at the meeting in August, presumably there is one, that if there are things that we need to state as a group, how we feel about the report. We might have to wait and see it until we know if there's something in the report that rises to the level that we have to weigh in. Now, maybe it's, we've read the report and we think it's great, or the report leaves out X, Y, Z. I don't know yet, because we haven't seen it.
Going to, at that August 5th meeting, propose a letter for approval at the RAC at that meeting, that this is our position? Or are we gonna just say, we have 30 different comments, and most of them are opposed to each other. So I just don't see what the board of supervisors views as the RAC's response.
You're right. I mean, if we get to a point where we got 30 different views, I'm not sure we could, in the space of the hour or two that day or in the subsequent week. We'll really have to do it that day in order to be able to send some sort of communication to the board. If we can't reach some sort of consensus on what to say, then we may have to say nothing.
That'll be a long meeting.
Yeah. Well, yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Tom, I understood you to say that what the DSAL team is looking for from us at this point is feedback on the public review draft.
Correct.
I didn't hear you say we're involved with the board of supervisors at this point. It's more the DSAL team and what they're going out to the public with in the public draft.
There's two things. You're right. I have been talking mostly about the feedback we're going to give the DSAL team, either individually or as a group at the meeting, presumably on August 5th. But there's a second thing, and that is, do we choose as a RAC to provide any input to the board of supervisors when they receive the draft report in early September? And typically they look to us to say, well, they know that they'll know that the RAC had the special meeting, reviewed the document. I think they'll be interested in what we have to say.
So when the project team says they want feedback,
yes,
that doesn't mean they're gonna alter anything in the public draft based on our comments?
I can't speak to that.
Because if they were willing to do that, then what's going to the board could be a little bit different than what we would see.
That's absolutely true. And that's the purpose of the draft, circulating the draft, they'll incorporate the comments, and then the final that would go to the board. That's my experience in the past of working in the private sector. That final document would reflect the comments they received during the public comment period, including our comments. Eric.
A formatting suggestion. If staff brought to the meeting basically just a generic letter saying that we hope they receive and file, then two things can happen in different pockets, so to speak. If there are any concerns that rise to the level of a consensus among us that we wish added to the letter, we could edit the letter to add them. And then as attachments, all the comments from individuals could be incorporated, not as part of the letter, but as attachments as part of that same packet. Would that make sense to you?
The first part, yes. I mean, as far as bringing a draft letter, and if something rises to the level that the WRAC could agree, or a majority of the people on the WRAC vote to incorporate those comments in the letter itself, yes. And I'd have to consult with staff on whether or not we can include individual comments as attachments to the WRAC letter, or those individual comments should just be part of the record in the draft report.
I'm looking back way in history. I don't know who was here maybe more than a quarter century ago, early 1990s. State Water, we actually sent 3 minority reports. One was subscribe and fill the pipeline as full as you can get it. Number 2 was subscribe only for those that are asking for it. And number 3 was stay the heck out of the whole thing. They were all minority reports, but basically kind of peeled off 3 groups and each one wrote one. And that was the mess that went to the Board of Supervisors when they had the all day and into the evening meeting to make a bunch of decisions about that. So compared to that, this should be easy, but we've kind of been in this terrain before.
Thank you, Eric, for the historical perspective. I saw Jan's hand up and then David's.
Yeah, I just want to say that in terms of my representation of the city of San Luis Obispo, for the city to take an official stand on the report itself, it would have to be agendized on a city council meeting. We have to have public comment. We have to get, a resolution, and then actually convey something to the Board of Supervisors for their September 1st meeting. So it seems to me that the entities that are involved who want to comment directly, I think that that's a more effective avenue rather than trying to get this group, and I'm somewhat new to all of this, so listen, I'm not going to represent what the city of San Luis Obispo is going to say about that, because all this work has been going on for years. So I just don't know the value of having like 2 sets of responses, like one from the WRAC and then one from the entities, because the entities, whether it's the city or the CSD or whatever, they're going to have to look at, what happens to the discharge, that highly salinated pipe of, basically water and salt going into our ocean. I mean, there are all kinds of public hearing type issues that the residents, the constituents are going to want to comment on.
Very good
As
point.
opposed to this little.
This
This is a great group.
This schedule doesn't allow for the process that she's talking about to happen. Because you got sequential meetings that have to happen, that have to be agendized, et cetera. And you can't do all that by September 1st.
I agree with that. Good point. David Crater, you had your hand up, and then I'll see other hands.
I think, my opinion, it's incumbent upon the WRAC to convey to the board the sense of the WRAC. And I understand that we can't speak on behalf of the official entities that are in the WRAC, in the room. But isn't the purpose of the WRAC committee, in essence, to represent those entities in good faith in a non-binding manner? I think it would be selling ourselves short to not give any response to what is.
Yeah.
David Chipping, and then
I'm somewhat troubled that we're being asked to do a technical review here, and we can't sit down and do that in the meeting. It would seem to me that at least 2 weeks ahead of the meeting, we need to see what these guys are saying they're going to do, the document we're commenting on.
And the schedule allows for that.
Prepared with comments from the individual members of the WRAC about things they would like to see changed or agree with, try and assemble those during the meeting, and that becomes the body of the letter. That is, you know, the following comments were made by WRAC in regard to this, coming from the various members of WRAC. But if we can't do a technical evaluation of this, we just just sit down and do it with a screen.
Yes, and you're right, David, and that's, we didn't anticipate, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that you'll have the draft document on or about the 22nd of July. That gives you 2 weeks to study it before we have the August 5th meeting, if the schedule holds. So you would have plenty of time to look at it in detail before you come to the August 5th meeting. But again, we're encouraging people submit your written comments directly to the DSAL team so that the August 5th meeting doesn't last all day.
I think one thing to keep in mind as well, the staff recommendation is receive and file.
Yeah.
So, they're, as far as consequential actions that the board can be taking on things that come through the WRAC, like this isn't necessarily one of those times. So this, we've discussed this, a wide-ranging plan, looking at all sorts of varied options. What would it take to do desal in these types of areas, these types of scales, for these agencies? And, is an example and a blueprint for types of projects to move forward. And so, it may not require going into the level of detail like other types of advisements have in the past related to, state water policies and, things like that at all. And I think that's frankly, when we met, for those who were here last month, if you recall, we brought up the idea of making a subcommittee, and the very clear consensus among the group was this doesn't warrant that. And so that's where Tom and I discussed the idea of a chair's letter of, recognizing this is receive and file, and that acknowledging the DSAL team came at this point, and this point, and this point, and this point, and talked about these various things. The RAC provided input along the way, even through the public draft presentation. And, there are, and something like that could be included and should be included August 5th. And if we want to agree on, concerns about Brian, will need to be addressed, and we look forward to seeing that in whatever the specific project is. Little things like that could easily be added in, but I think we want to be a little cautious of going too deep on something where the result is a received file.
Thank you for encapsulating that, because we don't need to get in the weeds right now.
That's a good issue. Thank you, Brenda. Christine.
Yes, thank you. Well, the last couple of comments were fairly along what I wanted to say, is that at this point, receive and file, that those who have 2 weeks and have the technical ability to study and have technical comments, I think it was very important to make those individual comments directly to the board or to the DSAL committee. But I think for us, when we meet, that generalized letter of the interest and the time we have taken as a RAC committee to look at this, and to make it, then we can perhaps in the meeting add certain little bullet points. There are these areas of interest or concern, just a few bullet points in our letter. Keep it simple, stupid, they say, the KISS principle, make it that general, that this is coming from us to the committee, DSAL committee and the board, but it's to the board really, because that's who we advise. But if this is being received and how that we have reviewed up to this point through all these meetings, there are still individual concerns or interest, and in those bullet points, then we don't come to a conclusion here and have to argue or debate on how we want to. Maybe we don't vote on what goes necessarily in. We just put it that way out there. Keep it a simple letter with keeping open that we haven't made conclusions. There are these interests and concerns.
Yeah, and if we leave the RAC out of it, the real deadline for communicating with the supervisors by jurisdictions and individuals is 5 p.m. on Monday, August 31st. So as individuals and as jurisdictions, we do have time for a second crack at it after more review or after benefiting from the discussions here or whatever. The supervisors will have it in their administrative record if it gets to them by the night or the late afternoon before the meeting, and ideally a few days before that to increase the chances that they've read it. But obviously, anything that goes in that week before the meeting would not be in the name of the RAC, and none of us should be claiming to speak for the RAC. We would just be speaking for ourselves or our jurisdictions. But we do have that opportunity.
Well, I like what Christine has suggested or crystallized, so if people are in agreement, we can come with a draft letter along the lines that she mentioned. Very vanilla. And if we want to add some bullet points, if there's enough consensus in the room, we can do that. And then we can, and if we want to, we can vote on that and approve it and make a special note that if organizations or individuals wish to abstain, we will note that so that no one is being committed by us not mentioning the fact that they didn't want to support that. All right. Any other comments on that item? Stay tuned because we don't, that July 22nd date, as I understand it, is not quite firm yet. So I know. Oh, go ahead.
I can chime in here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can, Angela.
Great. Yeah, so thanks for being patient about the dates. We did confirm those today, and we are looking at July 22nd for release. We'll get it out sooner if we can, but plan on July 22nd. And then that comment period will be open until the 7th, and we'll look forward to presenting at the RAC on the 5th. So all of those dates that you've been discussing, I can confirm we're good with, or we can all plan for.
And Brennan or Joey, you guys will send out the draft to the RAC members or attendance list. Okay.
So I gotta make sure it can reserve the room.
Yes, we'll work on that.
Can I ask that when you send out the draft, you include the deadlines for, public comment in general, not necessarily RAC comments, but public.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be included. Yeah, of course.
Right. Of course, if a person can keep it within 3 minutes, anyone can show up on September 1st as well and make comments. And again, should not make comments on behalf of the RAC if they're not RAC comments.
Thank you, Eric. All right. Any other comments or thoughts on that item? If not, we'll go to ongoing updates. And in the interest of time, I won't go through each one, but if anybody has anything on any of items 5A through J.
I think Angela may have one to add. Sorry.
Yes, and please, Angela, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to, before we move on from DSAL, I just also wanted to highlight that we plan on having a public survey coming out soon. So we distribute that to our DSAL interested parties email list. So for those who are subscribed to that, you'll be getting that, and we hope that you will fill it out.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on ongoing updates? Then future agenda items. Not seeing any hands. Anybody online, Joey? Oh, David, Chipping.
There's a very interesting study made by Keith and Associates on the conditions in the Los Angeles groundwater basin. It was an excellent report and very interesting. I'm just wondering whether somebody other than Keith or from the Los Angeles people might want to give a talk on it.
Ah, okay. Make a note of that. Anything else on future agenda items?
You mentioned in Adelaide studies, reaching a point they might come back, so we'll add that to the
That
list.
does sound interesting.
Open reporting on water conservation opportunities.
Okay.
also.
All right. Anything else? Then public comment for items not on the agenda. See any hands? Christine?
Yeah, I hammering on that deep seas desal, and I was just told today by someone in the Thousand Oaks area that they are studying right now putting those pods out in the deep sea for desal because it uses so much less energy and it distributes the brine way out there where it is. And I mentioned last time, Norway and San Diego is up running that. So this is something that I continue to hear about.
Is this something the city, as a city is studying?
No,
Would it be at the City of Thousand Oaks website?
I understand it's Dos Vientos subdivision out there looking at this themselves.
How far is Thousand Oaks from the ocean?
Over
the mountain.
yeah, 15 miles as a crow flies, but there was a, yeah. There was an article in, I believe it was Monday's LA Times on the front page that the Ocean Well, which is the name of the company that's contracting with several water districts in the Thousand Oaks area, had a successful deployment in one of the reservoirs there of a demonstration unit, but they're going ahead now with going to put one in the ocean in the next year or so. So, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So, anything else on items not on the agenda? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting, and in all likelihood, we will see you the first week in August because we are dark in July.
Wonderful summer.
Yes. Thank you.